Good morning. I am revising my plans for next weekend. Next weekend is the BYG tournament in Denmark on Sunday, and I'm going over my list. I'm going over all my stuff for that. I have 2 tables I need to pack, but I can't pack them yet because I'm going to have people over before the tournament. We're going to play games and prep for the tournament. So yeah, lots of things to do. Russell, the English captain, is coming over. He's staying here, and we're going to play some games on Saturday and on Friday. I'm going to have some of the guys from the club over, and we're also going to prep and do some games. So yeah, the wife is not home. She's going on a weekend retreat with her friends. And while I was doing that, I got a message from Manuel. And he was like, "Oh, sorry, I haven't been in touch with you." Because I had asked him if I could do reviews of his and of Aquiles and of Stefan's lists. And he was like, "Yeah, sure." So I have 3 more lists, and this is the first review. This is of a Aquiles list. Now, Aquiles is a top tournament player from Spain. He was at the WTC. He did very well. He was at the Spanish Nationals. He did very well. He's going to go and join Stefan and Manuel and come to Denmark. And I'm guessing he'll do very well. But some of the things that I'm going to talk about here is, and Achilles, I'm sorry, because I'm talking from a Danish meta perspective here, is how I don't understand his list. I'm not really sure. And this is one of the things that's really interesting, right? Every national meta develops on its own. We saw that very clearly when we went to the WTC, that it wasn't the same. The way that you played, the things that you thought were good, all of that was different depending on where you were from. And that is really interesting. And it's really interesting for me because all my perceptions of what is a good list, what is not a good list, what is a competitive choice and what is not, are being challenged. That is why I really love going abroad and playing in different places and with different people, but also about having different people come here and play me. I'm really looking forward to it. I hope I meet you, Achilles, at BYG. So let me talk you guys through his list, and I'll give a few comments while we go down. And Achilles, this is not a critique at all, because I have no right to be critiquing you. Who am I to do that? You doing well, right? But I have questions, and I have things that I don't understand. So if I'm sounding like I'm critiquing you, that's not it at all. I'm just questioning why. Right, 14 order dice, German reinforced. This is interesting, right? Because in Denmark, Germans are not the most competitive. It's a thing where the people who play Germans in Denmark are in love with the German army or with whatever, with the aesthetics or with the units or something. They have something that they are attracted to. But the people who play competitively don't play Germans. So that is really interesting. And it's a standard reinforced platoon, so not even a theater platoon. And this is my first, what's going on here? When I saw that, Achilles, I was like, what? What is he doing? He's bringing a second lieutenant, a regular one. Of course, the Germans can only do that. But then Achilles has 2 helpers, which makes his regular lieutenant into not a small team anymore, so he's easier to hit. Of course, he has 3 bodies instead of just 2 or 1, which makes him more survivable. And there is a math question here, whether one is better than the other. I would not have done this, and that's my first, this is the first point where I'm really interested and intrigued by what is going on here. Because I would never, ever make a 3-man officer team. And I'm not sure why. If it is that math thing where Achilles is sort of calculating, well, they become more survivable if they have more bodies. I'm not really sure how the math works out. I know if you're running a veteran, the math does work out for the larger group. But regular? Anyways, then he has some Strafebat units. And these are really interesting. There you surprised me, Achilles, really. And I was like, this is interesting. This makes Germans way more interesting. And I've talked a bit about this with Manuel as well. Haven't seen it in a real list, but I've been thinking about it and talking about it. I'm really interested how this works out. He's using Strafebat, but making them regular. So he's not min-maxing like some of us Danes do, where you like take the minimum unit to make them as cheap as possible. So they're just the cheap order dice. No, this is like proper tooled up units of regular infantry that are Strafebat and that are shirkers. It makes them cheaper. But it's also a risk, right? Because you have to take that order test. Every time you want them to do something, you have to take that order test. Maybe that's why the lieutenant is there, to sort of buff up his infantry, because they're going to have to make order tests every single time in every single game. Because they're shirkers. And he has spent points on these. The first unit has, it's a 10-man squad, regular shirkers, with a Faust, an SMG, and an assault rifle. So, tooled up regulars. His second unit is also a 10-man with 3 SMGs, 2 assault rifles, and a Faust. And the third unit of this is just an 8-man regular shirkers. So, large groups, 2 of them tooled up for the works, and then shirkers to save the points. That's really interesting. It's really, really interesting. I'm really looking forward to seeing how that works out and whether or not it actually does what it is supposed to do, because you're supposed to roll that moral test every single time, right? Supporting this, we have 2 very good units. We have the Sturmpioneers, which are like engineers in every other army. They're veteran, they're expensive, and there's only 5 of them. Isn't that right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, 5. 3 machine guns, submachine guns. So they sort of work out like a full unit because they have that many shots when they sort of attack and hit something. And a flamethrower. These are really good. Stuff them in a transport, which I think he does have. Let me see. Yeah, he's got a... No. Yeah, there we go. He has got a half-track Hanomag transport with a pintle-mounted MG. I am guessing that the Sturmpioneers will go in that. Maybe you could take something else. He also has a Brandenburger unit, which has a lot of Panzerfausts, so depending on what he's up against, he might choose to have the Brandenburgers in the Hanomag and then run that up. The Brandenburgers are 5-man, and 3 of them have Panzerfausts, so they're a tank hunting unit, especially if he goes up against like a closed unit, a hard tank. A list that has like a 9+ tank, those Panzerfausts would go straight up to that and just shoot it down, right? So those 2 units are really good. And the Brandenburgers have that extra thing where they have behind the enemy lines, so they're better at outflanking. They have sabotage, they have paranoia, so they are closing down the enemy's outflanks and reserves. Works really well. Then he is bringing a inexperienced medium mortar. He did that as well in Spain, I noticed Achilles. I noticed things. Which is again interesting because you have to have line of sight with it. but it's only firing indirectly anyways, so maybe he has his infantry in front of it and then uses that as a sort of mobile cover screen. A sniper team, regulars. An anti-tank rifle team. I'm guessing he thought that there would be a lot of soft-skin vehicles, and there are, so yeah. Regular. A flak autocannon, really good. And a horse-drawn limber. All of it, very good. So he can bring on his flag, he can sit it down wherever he wants to. Works perfectly. Then he has a SDKF set 250/9, which is a half track. It's close topped, it has recce, and it has a turret mounted light autocannon. Really nice. A nice armored car. It's only 7+, but it's close topped, which is one of the main things that I go for in armored cars, is to have that close top, so I don't. Yeah. I don't like open-topped armored cars per se, unless they're very cheap, and then I really like them. So if you're running with something that's supposed to be a tank, I would look for that close top, just so that rifles don't pin you down. And he has. And he has a Panzer Lux, which is also what he ran in Spain. So like, he has 3 autocannons. He is definitely tooled up to kill and shot down light armor and soft-skinned vehicles. The final thing is that Hanomag I talked about earlier, and that is it. That is the whole list. Really interesting list. There are things that I don't understand here, but there's also things that I do understand. I think maybe that to the Danish meta, that Aquiles is spending way too many points on units that may not do what he wants them to do. Which is interesting to see if that actually works out in his advantage or not. So let's see if we can get a German list in the top placements at BYG. That would be something, wouldn't it? I'm really looking forward to it. Aquiles, see you there. Cheers. Bye.